much. Thank you for having me, and I'm so excited that everybody's here today for this topic. My name is Peg Samuel. I'm a marketing consultant and advisor. I have been in this space for a while, and I really dig art in the blockchain, and I've worked on several projects, including fractional ownership of some fine prints. NFTs have a special place in my heart because I learned how to do the wallet and transfer my money over to make ETH from CryptoKitties and CryptoPunks. So I'm really excited to be here today talking about this. And the other angle that I go into this is, besides each of us learning more, how do we get people outside this room and more in the world knowing about the technology? And our panelists here are doing some interesting things, and I'm excited to continue that conversation today. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
So my name is Josh Batchgalupi, and actually, can I have the...
Oh, sorry. Do you know how to use this thing?
Which one?
This. Yes.
So my previous gig was at the Exploratorium, which is a science museum in San Francisco, hands-on, does science, like STEM-based exhibits. And as an architect in my past life, we did a lot of physical things. And so my real interest is how the physical world intersects the digital world. I mean, in a nutshell, if anyone remembers anything I say, as an artist, an architect, having worked with engineers a bunch, I've always felt my job is to push the envelope. And I could talk a little bit later after everyone introduces themselves about exactly what that might mean. I think NFT is a huge part of how, from my perspective, doing interactive art, how that can get expanded into the digital realm.
You need the clicker.
Hello, my name is Beatriz Ramos. I'm an artist, and I'm the founder of Dada. What you see here is what artists do in our platform. It's basically a conversation platform where people speak only through drawings. So this particular piece we did last November at Tate Modern. It was a live drawing performance with 20 artists around the world, all working spontaneously doing this piece. And it also includes a couple of drawings from our Dada GAN, which is our machine learning model that what was trained with 100,000 drawings that we have on the platform. And so we're experimenting a lot about collaborative art at grand scale globally, but also machine-human collaboration. And now we're getting into virtual reality as well. And the whole, for me, the most important thing about the NFTs, we started early on, before CryptoKitties, back in the summer of 2017. But our idea to get into the space was really to build a token economy. And so what we're trying to do is to create an economy in which the NFTs, the actual drawings, are the medium of exchange. And so you'll basically have an economy that is run through art.
Hey everyone, my name is James Waugh, and I work for a company named Enigma, which is building privacy solutions for public blockchains. And I've helped coordinate the second Rare Art Festival last year, and we're planning a third one. And my first experience in crypto, generally speaking, was at the OG Rare Art Festival. So that's kind of my experience in this realm, and I'm really excited about NFTs because I feel like they offer a potential for a kind of reputation system based on what you collect and what you create. So really excited to explore those kind of use cases alongside the fine art adoption.
Hi, my name is Misha Lippmann. I'm one of the founders for Snark.art. Snark essentially is a production platform that originates projects with artists that are almost game-like. We create large-scale projects that have thousands of game-like elements in it, where people can interact with one another, but because we each essentially art project contains thousands of elements, the price for acquiring this element is actually quite low. And so what we're trying to achieve is to create a connection between these established artists that have large following outside of the blockchain world and allow these followers to essentially acquire pieces of their loved artist, and to not do it as a sole experience where you acquire a piece of artwork and you put it on the wall, but do it more like a social experience where you acquire something and then you use this element to participate in some sort of experience. And so Snark.art essentially creates these types of artworks with artists.
Thank you. James, I want to ask you a question because I was actually at one of those OG events. And so my next question is for everybody, but because I was at that event and there was so much interest, but it was like this niche amount of people, and then we rode this big wave that then, in my opinion, crashed, and now we're having a resurgence. What is your opinion on where we're at today with the marketplace?
I think we're seeing a lot of differentiation by various platforms in different regards. And last year was certainly different from the original Rare Art Festival in that our community has refined itself, and you can see people who are building sustainable solutions, who are more likely to stick around and contribute, and others who, did what they could and created some awesome experiments, and we learned a lot from their time in the space, but have done different things now and are exploring whatever path leads to the best opportunities for them. So I think we're in a sort of diversification phase, if I could put it in one word. And I'm really excited about that because you can see all kinds of creators getting opportunities, not just the next big thing kind of artist.
Great. Anybody else like to add on to that?
I mean, I'll just only say that I feel like there's a big challenge right now to get outside of the blockchain world. In other words, to take a lot of these great products that people are building and take it to the consumers, and to create things that is attractive to them and that they could really enjoy it, not just because it's an NFT or has some kind of specific utility, but because it's a beautiful art piece and they want to acquire it. An NFT and blockchain and smart contracts is something that just exists to facilitate whatever it is, the experience or artwork that is being created.
Yeah, sure.
I'd love to build off that. What I'm really interested in doing, the slides. Well, I'll just describe it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can try while I'm talking. So basically, creating an interactive that's heavily influenced by communities. So you engage the community, and we talked really figuratively a lot of times in the space I'm in, community-based design, about communities figuratively owning the outcome. But with NFTs, we can start literally talking about ownership. So that in terms of process, both being part of the prototyping, having community members contribute to a project, say an interactive sculpture that's going into their space. So it's heavy on IoT. So that's really what brought me to this space, is I just was thinking about, well, okay, there's all this data, there's all this actual human interaction, what we call pro-social activity, where different people are interacting with a common thing in the actual physical community space. Like, how does that get preserved? How is there a memory so that you could build off that? Can you go back?
See if it works.
See if we can leave it to the artist, not able to figure out how to. Sorry for my voice, I lost it last night. But anyway, over on the far end there is an interactive sculpture I built that has touch sensors and has a data structure inside that remembers the patterns that each person does. And then as new people touch it, it resonates with past patterns. So it's sort of like you're having a conversation with people over time. And I think if, for example, you had an app that, or a DApp that could also augment that memory, that community memory, that could be a really powerful way to create, I think, that engagement that you were referring to, and that a lot of you guys have talked about. I just really want to, and I'm sure a lot of us here want to just blow up this space. So this is like really going far out in terms of like a triple bottom line model where you have the physical networks, which are the physical installations. You have the digital network, which would entail the IoT plus the blockchain. And then you'd have civic networks, which would be like community networks. It would be like place-based, community-based groups that you're working with. And that there's a virtuous cycle. And it really doesn't happen without NFT, without some way for a non-fungible technology to map onto the emotional experiences that people are having in their communities.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And B, with your community, it's so robust, and I've learned so much of it over time, like robust with each other and then how they're created. And to the point, like the physical art versus the digital art and creators and collectors, is there more we can say on that? And then has there ever been a thought of, or people producing this into the physical world?
Yeah, well, our data is inherently digital. So one of the things that is on our advantage is that we don't have the first registry problem because nobody uploads anything. So whether physical or digital, it's all native from the platform and it goes straight to IPFS and it's ready to be tokenized. So it's native blockchain. So what we're doing is the opposite, is once you are digital natively, how you come back to the real world and interact with people, which is what we did at the Tate Museum in London, and we try to do is how you go back and forth. But always starting from the point of view of digital art, because I think that's the value that NFTs bring naturally. So maybe like our next project is thinking about how we create an art installation that mixes the data GAN, the machine that we created, with people interacting with it on a space. And to make it in a way that the experience in itself shows them all this world that we're going towards too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Misha, how do you think we're taking things and expanding either? I also just think of some of this and some of these projects, they're community-based. It's not just one artist to many. Right now we're communicating and we're having different people be able to create art together. But how do you see us also just letting more people know what's around in terms of digital? And
I mean, the current reality is the traditional art market is, in terms of sales, I would say it's like 99% physical art. That's the reality. But the missing ingredient, at least the missing ingredient that a lot of us here believe in, is that the fact that blockchain now allows for there to be scarce digital elements was the missing component for allowing people to collect digital art. In terms of reaching this community, you have to, at least from Snark's perspective, the closest bond is between an artist and his follower, regardless whether blockchain. Blockchain didn't exist 10 years ago. These artists did, and they built strong bonds to their immediate community. And so the way to expand is through the artists and through their communities. Work with artists, create amazing, sophisticated, poetic, super artworks, and allow these artists to do them in a way that makes it relatively inexpensive for their immediate followers to acquire them. And digital medium allows for that. And this is kind of the beauty of it. And I think we're not that far away from doing this. We just have to kind of find that bridge and allow these people to start collecting these, let's call them NFTs, but really artworks, and enjoy them and kind of hope that the process takes off.
yeah, I really like what you said there actually, and I've talked about this in terms of mass adoption, is that people don't need to know about, people that are collecting it, say a collector, they may not need to know what technology this is built in unless, like myself, I'm a little geeky in tech. Like I always use this WhatsApp example. Like if I downloaded WhatsApp and I send you a note, I see the 2 blue check marks, I know you read it. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know about the tech. I just know it works. And to your point, there's a good relationship between artists and consumers. I think with some of the technology, it becomes more global, but everybody doesn't need to know about the tech underneath, right? What else do you think, like even from like today forward, we should be looking at in this area? And anybody can.
Well, for me, it's from the beginning, the NFT's potential was not in the scarcity, because I don't believe the value of art is in the scarcity. That's like an old concept from the industrial era. It's actually in the ownership, like you say, right? So the fact that you can now maybe find value in reusing and remixing and allowing many, many people to just add value to it. So in that sense, you can imagine that maybe the 5th iteration is the one that has a lot of value and not necessarily the first one, the original one. And so that's interesting to me, because you're incentivizing people to collaborate creatively and to just like explore. It's the opposite to copyright. So to get rid of copyrights, to get rid of patents and all of that restrictions, and allow anyone to just create freely, knowing that your ownership and your intellectual properties, your attribution is protected. To me, that's the next step. It's just like free art and creativity.
James, what do you think?
I think NFT experts need to look more into governance for specific platforms. We see growth in a lot of different places, yet we're capped at this kind of like Dunbar's number. And I want to see expansive growth in terms of mass adoption. And I think another part of it is building trust with governance. So you have trust in the platforms, but also trust in artists, because there's a lot of copyright issues out there, and it really hurts the entire industry that's forming. And we can see a lot of opportunities for collectors to display what they've bought or earned or won in a game or whatever it may be. I think it should be more cool to show off your collection, if you know what I mean. That's a path forward, in my opinion. But there's so many new things happening, and I see a lot of room for all kinds of NFTs to contribute to the art world and its adoption of this technology.
Thank you. So our panel time went really fast. We have a minute and a half left. So I want one final word from each of you on anything we've discussed or not discussed, and quick, in a tweet.
Really quickly, if I realize my approach is a couple steps down the road. If there's anyone out there interested in pro-social, physical connection with like actual, just physical, the connection between the physical community activity and the digital space via NFT, talk to me.
Yeah, similarly, we are creating now, we just finished our paper for our token economy, and we're opening the platform to all the developers that want to help out and want to create things on data, and it's going to be a collaboration between the artists and the developers through this economy. So anyone that is interested, talk to me.
The main thing I want you to know in this context is the Rare Art Festival is happening May 14th. During NYC Blockchain Week, and we've got some exciting happenings around that to be announced, but just stay tuned. And remember, we're all in this together.
Yes.
Hi, I guess just more personally, we're releasing a cool project next week. It's these fortune cookies, AI-based fortune cookies. They're going to be free, so please come to snark.art. At the moment of opening, artificial intelligence will tell you your future.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.